Now listen, folks, it's time we had an honest talk. Not the sugar-coated sound bites from career politicians, not the fear-mongering headlines from media moguls with corporate sponsors, and certainly not the finger-pointing from radio blowhards who haven't set foot on a farm since high school. I'm talking about a truth they don't want you to hear. They've convinced millions of Americans that food assistance programs, SNAP, WIC, school lunches, are just handouts for the poor. Lazy freeloaders, they say. Moochers, they call them. But here's the thing. The same dollars that help feed low-income kids in Milwaukee are the ones helping keep a dairy farmer in rural Wisconsin afloat. That's not socialism. That's the food system. And it's how it's always worked. A subsidy by any other name is one and the same. Let's define our terms, because clarity is power. A subsidy is government money that helps keep an industry going. Agriculture is one of the most subsidized industries in the country, and for good reason. We all eat. SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, WIC, which stands for Women, Infants, and Children, and the National School Lunch Program aren't just acts of charity, they're economic engines. The USDA directly purchases commodities from American farmers, dairy, grains, produce, proteins, and redirects them into these programs. In 2023 alone, USDA food purchases under domestic nutrition programs totaled $2.8 billion, directly benefiting American agricultural producers, according to the USDA Economic Research Service. You heard that right. Nearly $3 billion into the pockets of farmers and processors, many of them in red counties. What's been and still going on right now in agriculture is one of the greatest deceptions of all time. So why don't we hear about how SNAP, WIC, and the National School Lunch Program actually help farmers just as much as the poor? Why doesn't Fox News run a segment titled, "Food Stamps Keep Farmers in Business"? I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't fit the script. It's much more profitable, politically and financially, to divide Americans by class. Media corporations, owned by billionaires with stock portfolios full of agribusiness shares, paint food assistance as wasteful. Meanwhile, conservative politicians stand on debate stages railing against entitlements while cashing checks from donor-backed agricultural PACs. They pit poor families against struggling farmers as if one's survival must come at the expense of the other, when in fact, their survival is intertwined. Here's a truth bomb. Sensible Sue style. A food stamp is a farm subsidy in disguise. When the government gives someone in Chicago an EBT card and they use it to buy milk or peanut butter, that money flows back to the American farmer. Not the Chinese farmer, not some global elite, the American farmer. That carton of school milk in Arkansas? That's a guaranteed buyer for a dairy farm in Iowa. The WIC-approved cereal in a New York bodega? It supports a grain producer in Kansas. Are you starting to get the picture here? Because I am telling you the truth. The cold hard facts you're not going to get anywhere else. Because the agenda of division of our nation's people has no room for the truth or facts. You want to talk about market security? That's what government food contracts provide. It's not socialism, it's sound economics. And without those programs, the market dries up, demand drops, farms close, the system collapses. Now let's talk about conservative farmers and liberal subsidies, shall we? Many conservative farmers have swallowed the anti-welfare pill with a smile, not realizing they're chewing on their own livelihoods. They vote against big government, then turn around and cash USDA subsidy checks. It's cognitive dissonance on a cornfield. During the last Trump administration, over 10,000 U.S. farms folded, many of them family-owned operations hit hard by trade wars and subsidy cuts, according to a USDA Farm Income and Wealth Statistics report from 2020. Yet, those same farmers were sold a narrative that painted food assistance as a burden on the economy instead of what it is, a lifeline for both plate and plow. At this point, it would not just be irresponsible of me not to mention the Walmart welfare cycle, it would be committing an act of journalistic malpractice. Let's not forget corporate America's hand in this mess. Companies like Walmart have structured their entire business model around low wages. knowing full well that public programs will pick up the slack. A 2020 report by the Government Accountability Office found that Walmart is the single largest employer of SNAP recipients. According to a May 19, 2024 article in the Washington Post, in just 9 states alone, there were 14,500 Walmart employees who receive SNAP benefits, and another 10,350 were on Medicaid. So their workers earn poverty wages, qualify for assistance, then use those SNAP dollars at Walmart. That's not a safety net. It's a corporate subsidy hidden in plain sight, and yet the working class is told they are the problem. Listen, labor unions like the Service Employee International Union and many others have been calling this out for a couple of decades, yet the cries for people to make a livable wage have either been muffled or silenced in certain parts of our country. The corn conundrum and processed profits poses a real threat to every American household. The government showers subsidies on crops like corn and soybeans, not because Americans are clamoring for more tofu or tortillas, but because those crops get processed into cheap fillers, sweeteners, and oils. High fructose corn syrup, the backbone of every boxed snack in the grocery aisle, exists in part because the government made corn so cheap that big food companies couldn't resist. This isn't about nutrition, it's about profit. And the same people mocking handouts are the ones pocketing the proceeds. And while they rake in the dollars, Americans are getting sicker with every bite of the unhealthy kibble that's put into the stores for us to consume. Think about it. Diabetes is on the rise. We have more dialysis clinics now than we've ever had. And heart disease and the numbers of people having strokes is almost unimaginable. There's a storm coming for small farms, a real reckoning. As Trump 2.0 axes food assistance, the dominoes are going to start to fall. In some areas of the country, they are already falling. School lunch programs are being slashed. SNAP benefits reduced. WIC funding stalled in Congress. And every time those programs take a hit, so do small farms. You think Rick Scott and Marjorie Taylor Greene care about school lunch contracts? No. But your neighbor with 120 acres and a dairy herd does. The fewer the contracts, the fewer the farms. The fewer the farms, the more land gets bought up by agribusiness. And when they own it all, they'll set the prices for food, for wages, for everything. It is time for a real wake-up call, and I am here to turn up the volume on the alarm clock. If you're a farmer who thinks food stamps are wasteful spending, think again. If you're a voter who thinks cutting WIC saves taxpayer money, you'd better take a closer look. Because the dollar you cut from a poor family's grocery budget is a dollar ripped from the local grain co-op, the dairy processor, and the meat packer. Food stamps feed more than just families. They feed the economy. And more importantly, they feed the farms that feed us all. One last word and something for you to think long and hard about. I've learned from a lifetime of keeping the books, stretching paychecks, and watching the political circus from the kitchen table one hard truth. There are certain fractions in our government that want us divided. Rural versus urban. Farmer versus worker. Red versus blue. But the truth is, we've all been eating from the same plate this whole time. And if we don't fight to protect programs like SNAP, WIC, and school meals, the plate gets emptier for everyone. Because here's the truth they don't want you to hear. Food stamps don't just feed the poor. They keep American farms in business. And without them, we all go hungry. Let that sink in. This is Sensible Sue signing off. Stay sharp, keep an open mind, and above all, stay sensible out there.